You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch.
Welcome to the latest episode of Stupid Bitches Say What, the Aussie podcast about everything and nothing, but always with wine. And your hosts, Sean Bino Hipkins and Skye Lee Collett.
This week's episode is pop culture, and we are leaning into the most popular theme of October, Halloween. Listen in as Skye spins a truly scary tale of a New York haunting played out over the internet and massing a viral and loyal following of conspiratists and paranormal enthusiasts. While Sean, me, discusses the spooky phenomenon that is sleep paralysis and the shadow demons that come with it, including his and others' experiences with them. What you drinking, Skye?
Well, this evening, Sean Bino Hipkins, I'm drinking a cheeky Sauv Blanc, and it does taste like razor blades because I'm super fucking hungover. It's Sunday at 6 p.m. and we are recording the podcast
for Tuesday.
Because it's been a comedy of errors over the last couple of weeks with illness and broken limbs and work commitments. Teeth removals. So it's certainly
it's the curse of season 4, I'm telling you.
It is the curse of season 4. And if you are watching on YouTube and you can see the video, you can even see that my glasses have gone skew because I've broken them and all the conundrum of the last couple of weeks. And I haven't had the chance to go back to the optometrist and have them fix them for me. So this is how I'm going through life with my glasses askew. Clearly askew. I'm trying to pour this again on my face. But this little bottle is a Hooper & Co. It's a Generation 2 organic that I got from Naked Wines. I got a bunch of Naked Wines delivered last week. Tyler and I have drunk through most of the organic.
I think that is hilarious.
The wines.
It's like me with food.
We had 4 glasses. We had 4 bottles on Thursday night, and then we had 5 bottles last night.
Animals.
So drunk 9 bottles of wine in 2 days.
Wow.
But this is really cute. Oh my god! I said it's a Sauv Blanc. It's not. It's a Pinot Gris. What am I talking about? It's Rat and Bully. I haven't heard that one. But it's got this little summary on the front of the label, and it says, "Look after your land, and it will look after you. Don't take more than it can give, and manage it for future generations."
I love that. Yes, that's
but
really
I only
good.
had about yay amount left in the bottle because this is one of the bottles that we drank last night. My husband likes a Pinot.
And who would have thought?
Yes. Loves the milder flavour of a Pinot.
He's going to be giving us lessons soon, isn't he?
Oh my god!
Well, the bouquet on this one is delectable.
He keeps saying to me today that, babe, all I can taste is that wine in my mouth from last night, and I'm like, yeah that'll do it. That'll do it. And what are you drinking, Mr. Hipkins?
Well, as you touched on, it has been a few weeks of conundrums. My addition to that this week was, how was that? How did that go down?
Oh, that's not good.
No, your face tells 1,000 stories.
It's harsh. It's harsh on my vibe, man.
I came down with, Vinny and I both came down with COVID last week. First timers. We'd held out for so fucking long. I'm kind of glad that it happened then because they say so many weeks after it, you can't get it. Like 6 weeks. So we should be good for our trip and not be fucking.
Oh, yes. That's so good, isn't it? That it's happened when it's happened, because it could have been so much worse. You know, Vinny was gloating the other week. Did I tell you this? When we went out for Pride, he was saying, we haven't even got it. Talking about both of you.
He said he was looking forward to going home and being, still haven't had it.
Yeah.
But fuck me, we've had it. And
we're healthy as oxes, tell you. We're so healthy.
Jesus, it kicked us for a 6, both of us. Vinny was about 2 days behind me as well. So he was being very good, Florence Nighting Brunch, as we call him, during the couple of days I was sick. But then as soon as he got sick, fucking hell, the house was just a cesspool. Shit just wasn't, dishes weren't getting done and stuff like that. It was horrible. We'd get up and just see a big pile of shit and be like, oh. But no, we're on the mend now, which is nice.
Oh, that's lovely to hear.
I know.
Lovely
So
to hear.
hadn't had a drink since Saturday. When you consider I've had a week off, that's unheard of, even though I was dying. So today is my first drink since then, and it's a Han Super Dry, refreshingly low carb. Shut up, Alexa. And here we go.
Yeah. How does it feel?
That feels fucking great. Oh, that's been a while.
At least you're enjoying yours. I'm like, hey.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
I'm only doing it for the podcast.
Oh yes. So another thing we had going during our week of fucking hell, I would lay in bed and I found a bell app so I could ring a bell when I needed something. The problem,
You're such a bitch.
the problem was the bell doesn't stop ringing once you shake the phone once. You can't shake it and it stops again. It just continually goes. And then, so by the time it came to about Wednesday, I was bedridden. Thursday, I was able to get up, I think, and walk outside, like the room, and lay on the couch. And Vinny then had became just bedridden. And then the bell became his fucking toy. And the bell wouldn't stop ringing. And if I didn't hear it, it'd just get louder and louder and louder. It's how we got through. But I've never sweat, shivered, or slept so much in 1 week than I had last week.
Poor loves. It's rotten.
I'm sure the cats sort of got a bit of a side effect from it as well, because they weren't screaming at us. They just slept the whole day with us. And I know cats usually do, but it was like, there was no zoomies, nothing. They were just very, very, very lethargic, which was nice. I didn't eat during mine. Did you eat when you had it?
Oh, I think we did, but I think we just were forcing ourselves because we were in full lockdown as well, remember? Which I guess yous were too. It's not like yous were going anywhere. But it was just something to break up the monotony of the whole sickness. I think sometimes we just forced ourselves to eat.
Yeah.
Tyler certainly had a much reduced appetite than what he normally has, though.
Yeah. Well, I didn't eat probably for about 3.5 days. And if I did eat, it was a piece of toast with some baked beans on it or something after Vinny would eat. Vinny's fucking appetite did not stop at all. I'd wake up after a fucking pass and be like, "Are you hungry, babe? Are you hungry, babe? Are you hungry, babe?" I'm like, "No, babe, I'm not fucking hungry. If you're hungry, go get something to eat. I'm not hungry." I couldn't believe it. He had not anything happened to his appetite.
Well, when we had it, my mum came out because we were all housebound because I was staying at my sister's. So it was me, my sister, my brother-in-law, Tyler, and their 2 kids. So there was the 6 of us. And Link had been staying at my folks. So he was okay. He was immune. But Mum said, and we were all craving KFC for some reason. And so Mum's like, "I'll bring you out like a big family box and then some of, KFC." I'm like, yeah, that's great. And I remember she came and she just sort of put it on the front step and just unpacked the car and put it all there and then got back in the car and drove away. And then we came out and got it and brought it in. And I remember we were eating it, but our hearts just weren't really in it.
Yes, yeah. So how, and that's how we did want to prelude, I guess, to our listeners with has been the curse of COVID, of season 4. That COVID hitting this, all the events that have led up to it. So we're super sorry that we just completely paused for a week, didn't put any explanations up or anything.
It was 2 weeks, wasn't it? We lost 2 weeks at one point. We managed to get 1 week back. Did we? Because we missed a week when Tyler had, we did when Tyler had his wisdom teeth out. It was the night Link had his surgery for his breaking his leg, his knee.
Yeah, there was
That's
something
when we missed.
We postponed as well.
Sick.
Yeah, but I think we had an episode sort of up our sleeve.
Up our sleeve, yes.
So we were able to play it. But there was another week we got postponed when the fucking noise on it went, when we went to Riverside. And we had to pull the episode and re-record it.
That's right.
Yeah, so there's been just like all this. And then we had those 2 episodes of sound issues as well.
Yes, and this was the season where we didn't record a couple. There was at least 2 episodes.
Oh, yes, I forget hitting record.
Yeah.
Or something.
So because we had to redo them.
It has been a hell of a season. Getting through it is going to be a fucking monumental occasion.
Oh, indeed, it will. It will.
So how's your week or fortnight been? Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I didn't do any posts. I was thinking about doing a post saying, COVID struck again. And I thought all of our posts lately have been, sorry, this has happened. Sorry about the noise. I thought just leave it. Just pretend like nothing happened.
I think so. I think we just need to write off this season and be like, well, we've got a strategy for next season to try to avoid this, recording like 4 or 5 weeks prior,
yes,
so that we've got stuff
before
in the bank.
Release.
And if things come up where it's not going to impact our release schedule, and I think that will be helpful. But
I agree. Yeah,
it shocks me that didn't occur to us before, actually, considering but we've both been pretty committed to it. We haven't really missed a week, considering how hectic both of our lives and our families' lives are. Like we've been pretty good. I guess you can't.
And we were just always too keen to get them out there, weren't we?
Yeah, totally.
But no, you're right. Next season, we're going to start by recording about 4 episodes before the first one gets released.
Yes.
And then go from there.
I think that's a good approach. Definitely.
Yeah, me too. So how has your fortnight been?
Oh, look, it's been fucking just absolute bedlam. I had gastro. The husband had his wisdom teeth out. Then the husband got really, really sick with the flu in the same week that my son broke his kneecap. Then had surgery, and will be in a full leg brace up to the top of his thigh from his ankle for another 6 weeks.
So work is just obviously off the cards
for him.
Yeah.
And school. So I've got to talk to the school tomorrow because they've given him another week, and then they're saying that he can go back to campus. But he had to. So it's very strict now. It's quite different to when you and I went to school. Like, as long as you could pass something, you pretty much got the tick. Now you can't. Teachers can't exempt you from things. It has to go all the way to the Board of Education. So there's this whole big piece of paperwork that needs to put in. If you've got a medical certificate, like, there's just pages of paperwork that needs to go in. The school can't just decide by citing a medical certificate, oh yeah, the kid doesn't need to complete an assessment or can have an extension. It needs to go through the Board of Education. Because they're seniors, I guess, year 11 and 12, and how they're ranked and stuff is how they get into uni. And I guess in these times where everything's tracked really carefully through the internet and digital ways, it's just, it's very, very strict, which is a good thing, I'm sure, in lots of ways. So what they're saying is that he may have to finish some of his subjects next year at the beginning of year 12, which is going to be a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We'll talk to the school a little bit more, but their school year's nearly finished. Like, the year 12s have all finished. Their last day was the end of last week. Yeah.
They just have a couple of exams or something.
And then the year 11s come in the background. Like, no, the year 12s are full finished. They're done now. All their exams are finished. They finished on Thursday and Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So year 11s only had another 2 or 3 weeks after them. So really, there's not much time for him to recoup anything because school's over. Yeah. And they need to be marking him off. But the good thing is he's done so well all year that the school's really committed to making sure that we can find a solution.
He just wants to be able to flex his cast now at school. That was the cool part about getting a fucking cast.
It's not a cast. He looks like a robot. He's got like a robot thing. It's like a steel contraption over his leg. There's no cast. There's nothing for anyone to sign.
Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah, it's got those little things on the side. Yeah, but at the moment they're not mobile. It's completely stuck in place. So you can
then they'll make it mobile at some point, do they?
In 4 weeks, they'll move it a very, very small amount, because the whole thing is, because the kneecap got taken off, it needs to be like stuck completely back on, and any movement will prevent that from healing properly. So
it's crazy, isn't it? It's amazing what they do now. It's not just a big fucking stinky old cast.
I know. And when you see the scar that he has as well, it's insane what they did. Like, he's got pins, he's got wire, he's got all this stuff in his leg now.
From that little scar.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. And I said to him when we were getting his checkup on Friday, I said, isn't it crazy to think that your leg was open 2 weeks ago and they were inside operating on it and putting pins and steel and everything in there? It's just insane. And now it's just a slit.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy that people have that ability. I couldn't imagine. Where the fuck does this go?
Yeah.
I put what where?
Exactly. And through what?
Someone needs to show that to me again.
One more time. I just need a YouTube vid.
I know. It's very remarkable. I think I could never do it because I hate blood and needles and
Me
everything.
too.
But I find it fascinating that people have these skills to be able to do that kind of stuff. But anyway, I don't want to dwell on the last couple of weeks. I got through them. That's
somehow
the most important thing.
Yeah.
And now we're soldering. But in fact, I can't believe it's nearly Christmas, man. It's funny.
I know.
This year has just flown by.
Every fucking year does at this stage, doesn't it? It's crazy.
It's called getting old, isn't it? That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Just blink and you'll miss it. In fact, before we know it, we're going to... What's the next milestone? 50 for us. Jesus
5 years.
Christ.
Less than 5 years for me.
Yeah, not for me. I've got a lot longer than that, thank you very much.
A lot longer, yes. You do have a lot longer. What is it, 8?
Longer than you, my love. Longer than you. And I'll stand by that.
Every time. Oh, you bitch.
So how was your week? How's this week?
Well,
for you?
We'll do the fortnight. So we know the week's been pretty shit. Yeah, because I just binged watched so much fucking TV. I could do my own little fucking special podcast episode on the TV I watched. It was fucking... And my phone, I actually got so sick of looking at my phone. You know, you go through and you're catching up on Facebook stories and shit like that you looked at 10 minutes prior. You're like, oh God, where's my content?
Facebook has become this thing that you just automatically go through. Like, you don't even get any real enjoyment from it anymore because there's so much junk on there, I find. But it's something that you're so ingrained and we've been doing for over 10 years that it's such a part of our life that we can't really survive without flicking through it. But when you're on there, you're like, don't care, don't care, add, don't care, add. Why am I even on this thing?
It's so true. And then you get stuck in the video reels.
Oh, the videos are so pointless, aren't they? And they only show you a little bit. So you do click on them because you thought, oh, this could be interesting. And then you're like, how is that even popular?
The ones that piss me off the most are that it took me 5 times to realize what it was actually happening. Or, you know, and you sit there and you keep watching the video over and over and you're like, what actually happened? I didn't get it. Then you got to read in the comments and someone's like, oh, the duck did a shit or something like that, you know what I mean? Yeah. So yes, let's get into it. So I think you're up first after our hiatus.
I believe that's the case. So let's just do a little bit of a chat. We're doing supernatural themed episodes where we can this month, obviously because it's Halloween. But we both love Halloween. We like everything spooky, don't we? And supernatural. So that's why we've gone this way.
Yeah.
And my topic is something that went viral on the internet a number of years ago, and you and I were both following it at the time. You remember this, don't you?
100%. I was obsessed.
We were both obsessed. We were constantly sending each other updates when things were happening and screenshots of what was going on because the photos. And this is something, listeners, you will have to, if you are interested in this story, I strongly urge you, please go follow some of the threads. Particularly, we might even be able to post one that's the main one that tells you the whole story, where I've got a lot of my research from, because the pictures that accompany that are insane. And look, they could be doctored, you know, they could be photoshopped, but
you just got to live in the magic of it.
I'm choosing to believe that what's happening is happening because it's just so wacky and so crazy. And I think where we got to, it sort of stopped for a while and things weren't really happening, or at least the guy wasn't posting. And so there's way more to it than what I knew. Like it's escalated on top of where we got to.
I did read quite a few of the different threads on it, and I remember going back and sort of reading it again one time just to get in one of those when I couldn't sleep and I just wanted to spook myself out.
Well, I might have missed that then. I might not have gone back. I got to a point where it, you know, I stopped.
That was it.
And since I've been researching, there's a lot more stuff that's happened that I wasn't aware of.
I'll have to check it out. Cool.
Yeah,
because I'm sure I missed out on stuff.
The pictures and the videos are insane. Videos that go with it are crazy.
Like the cat's freaking out, the chair moving, the picture falling off the wall.
Yes, it's so crazy. Anyway, okay, so here we go. So Dear David is based on the recollection of an apartment haunting by a BuzzFeed writer and illustrator Adam Ellis, commencing in 2017 and garnering a viral following across social media and Twitter with the following initial declaration. So Adam tweets in August of 2017. So my apartment is currently haunted by the ghost of a dead child and he's trying to kill me. Now, I should disclose at this point to our listeners that the evidence that begins to pile up and I will reference today or tonight, this evening, carries a lot more weight and seriousness when it's accompanied by the images Ellis has taken by photo, video, and voice recording through his ordeal. If you plug Dear David into Google, you will find a ridiculous amount of fan videos and retellings also. So lots of fan theories, lots of people picking apart the evidence and what they think and interpreting in different ways, similar to what happened with that. Is it Alyssa Tran, the one who died in the hotel?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Remember how in the end, based on her video when she was in the elevator
Cecil Hotel,
acting weird, they had all these theories and it just grew, had this cult following. People just lived and breathed it. It's quite similar to that. So a timeline of events, the Dear David haunting. August 7, 2017, it begins. Writer Adam Ellis shares the post that I mentioned before on Twitter. So my apartment is currently haunted by the ghost of a dead child who is trying to kill me. He goes on in subsequent posts on the same date to describe a weird dream he had several months prior about a child with a misshapen head appearing in his room on a green rocking chair next to his bed.
That's
so
right.
The rocking chair is his furniture in his home. In the dream, the child gets out of the chair and starts shambling towards him as he sits paralyzed in bed. He wakes before the child reaches him.
God.
Shivers.
Yeah.
After the initial dream, he has another one just a few days later where a little girl talks to him about the safest way to interact with Dear David. Adam tweets, I was in a library. This is his dream. He's referencing his dream. I was in a library and a girl came up to me and said, you've seen Dear David, haven't you? I was like, who? And she said, Dear David, you saw him. She goes on to explain that David is dead and that he only appears at midnight. And if you see him, you can ask him 2 questions as long as you say the words, Dear David, first. However, you are never, ever to ask him 3 questions. He'll kill you if you do. So just to explain a little bit, a lot of the haunting goes on based on his dreams. So there's things that he dreams about, and then there's evidence that happens based on his dreams that make him think something's happening while he's asleep that's making him dream in this manner. And then there's things that happen when he's awake as well that sort of just coincide with everything and all just keeps building.
And getting more weirder and weirder and weirder.
Weirder and weirder and weirder. And the pictures of the misshapen child's head and the misshapen child are insane. It will give you absolute goosebumps. You would not sleep over it. The next time Ellis dreams of David, he attempts to question him.
I was wondering how it got the Dear David again. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And that's why.
So he tweets, I say, Dear David, how did you die? He mumbles, an accident in a store. I said, Dear David, what happened in the store? He groans, a shelf was pushed on my head. I'm frozen with fear. I ask, who pushed the shelf, David? David doesn't answer. I know that I've asked a 3rd question, which I'm not supposed to do. At this point, I wake up absolutely terrified. Ellis then goes on to Google children named David or children with the D initial, trying to find any information about a little boy that dies in a store anywhere in New York. He turns up nothing. Not long after the apartment above him becomes vacant, so he decides to move upstairs. He writes that he thinks David may have lost track of him because he moved, because there's a bit of a lull in the time between him moving upstairs and the things that have been going on.
Yeah.
But then strange things start occurring. Tweeting later. For the past 4 nights, my cats gather at the front door at exactly midnight and just stare at it like almost like something is on the other side. And there is videos online that you will see of the bizarre behavior of cats.
Yeah.
Like anyone who's owned cats know that they can act quite bizarre.
Yeah.
But this kind of behavior is not something I've ever seen as a cat owner for, 12 years. Like the way that they are spot on time about when they're at the door, they're obviously searching for something. There's something that's got their interest on the other side that they want to get to. Or
they're intrigued.
Yeah. So Ellis looks through the peephole and becomes convinced that he sees something on the other side. So he's in an apartment, he's got a front door, and then you look out, there's a little hallway with stairs that go down to the next level. And that's where
your cat meow then.
No, I don't think so.
That was creepy. Go on.
Oh my God. I was getting the shivers the whole time I was writing this.
I swear I just heard your cat go, meow.
And that's where I'm at right now. He tweets, "Dear David, found me, I think. I don't know what to do. I'll keep you posted." So August 8th to 9th, Ellis tweets, "Update, for the 6th night in a row, my cat has walked to the door promptly at midnight and stared at it." So he's got 2 cats. One was much more,
receptive.
Receptive, like the cat that he just did it every night at the same time, the same behavior. The other cat joined in from time to time, but didn't hold as much interest as the other cat. For the 6th night in a row, my cat has walked to the door promptly at midnight and stared at it. This is the first of many videos demonstrating the cat's strange behavior. Ellis is curious and takes a photo of the hallway outside his door through the peephole. He can't see anything, so he opens the door and takes a photo with his phone on the other side of the door. Tweeting again, sharing a photo of what he'd taken. "Is it just me, or is there something in the first photo where the banister meets the shelves hiding on the stairs? I wasn't sure if it was a smudge or something, so I took a second photo from outside. There was something out there. Unsure what to do, he locks the doors and tweets, 'I'm pretty scared.'"
I understand.
August 10th to 11th. Ellis tweets that he plans to experiment with the Sleep Talk app that night to see if anything happens. His cats continue to behave as they have at midnight, peering at the front door as if there's someone behind it. Someone from his growing follower base suggests he draw a line of protection with salt in front of the door. He does so, but the cats remain unfazed and continue to sit there as they previously have night after night. The next morning, he shares on Twitter the outcome of his sound app experiment, tweeting, "I used the sound app to record my apartment last night. It makes individual recordings each time it hears something. There were 33 recordings." He goes on to share one online, which has a soft electric pitch static sound on one of the recordings. All the others had nothing. But then there's just this one unexplainable noise that happens, and the app engages when it hears something. So it was triggered by the noise, and he's like, "I don't know what this noise is. What could this noise possibly be in my house?" You can hear it online. He observes, "This one is weird because out of the 33 recordings, this is the only one that has the strange electric sound throughout." August 14th, Ellis tweets again. "So a weird thing just happened. I brought a Polaroid camera this weekend. I decided to take a few photos around my apartment. I took a couple in the living room and the bedroom." He then references the green rocking chair in the photo that he first saw David in. "They are pretty unremarkable. Then I went into the hallways and snapped a photo. The Polaroid developed for the hallway came back completely black." He shares an image of this also.
I remember that image. Yeah, that's
He goes on to say, "I also thought maybe I accidentally covered the lens with my finger, so I took a photo while intentionally covering it with his finger. The pictures look very different. Yeah. So he shows the 2 photos, the black one that came back when he took a photo of the hallway, the one with his finger, and the finger one's grainy. You can see lines and everything. They're not the same image. He didn't put his finger over it to explain the blackness. He took another set of photos of the hallways with the hallway light on. These also developed in pitch black. The freakiest one is when he takes a photo with his phone and the camera of the hallway standing back in the living room. So he's looking through the door. He's in his lounge room. There's a lounge room in front of him. There's the door out into the hallway. Yeah. And you can see the light on. The phone image comes back normal, but the Polaroid shows the door frame leading out to the hallways and only blackness outside.
God.
But in the phone one, you can see the hallway, you can see the light and everything, and the lights are on.
This has the hallway just blacked out completely.
Yes. So Ellis's followers went to great lengths to review the photos, lightening them and using editing software, and multiple people shared reposted images of the original photos showing the figure outline of the person in the blackness.
Oh my God, I haven't seen that.
Yeah. So August 14th to 15th, some of Ellis's followers encouraged him to burn sage in the apartment to purify it, so he decided to try.
Done that.
He tweets, "Who knows, maybe this will do something." The following day, he returns to say sage did not work. He goes, "I haven't dreamt of David recently, but he appeared last night. In the dream, my bedroom was filled with hazy smoke, but I could see David sitting in the chair across the room. He was smaller this time." I'm getting shivers. "Almost shrunken. He didn't do or say anything except look at me. Anyways, it feels like a bad omen." August 18th, Ellis shares a picture of his cat's nighttime ritual, advising it's been 2 weeks and they are still sitting at the door, peering through it, trying to look under the cracks, meowing.
Yeah.
August 18th.
Scaring the shit out of him.
Yeah, I would be petrified. I'd be absolutely shitting myself.
Especially because he's home alone too. And
so the drawing image that you were talking about earlier, that's what he drew based on his original dreams, allegedly. So, you know, the misshapen head where it's like missing part of the side, it's just the drawing, the black and white one. He drew that based on his first dreams. So August 18th to 21, Ellis posts, "All this ghost stuff has been spooky, but this past weekend was the first time I actually felt unsafe in my home. I had a dream where David was dragging me by the arm through an abandoned warehouse. I'm not sure why I didn't fight back in the dream or how he was strong enough to pull me. That's dream logic for you. It was a creepy dream, but I didn't think much of it when I woke up. I took a shower and then I noticed something." And this is again where you can see the images online. "I woke up with a huge bruise on my arm." He shares a picture of his bruised arm. He said that it could have happened at any time and there could be totally reasonable explanations.
He just can't think.
What makes things even odder, though, is when he left his apartment to go get breakfast the next morning after he woke up after the dream, something he does every Saturday, he passed by a food cart repair depot that's right by his apartment, or at least it used to be right by his apartment. Ellis noted that he's lived in the apartment building for 4 years, and in all that time, he's never seen the depot anything less than bustling, but that day it was silent. When he took a peek inside, it was almost empty. The warehouse depot had been completely cleared out except for one thing, a chair, a green chair.
Oh my God.
On his way back from breakfast, he notes that the warehouse was now shut up completely. The coincidence freaked him out. He tweets, "The chair, my bruise, dreaming of an empty warehouse and then passing by one, it gives me the creeps."
Yeah, it gives me the creeps.
August 25th. At the end of the week, Ellis tweeted that some small things had been happening in his apartment. First, the cats had changed up their "hey, let's hang out by the door" routine. Instead of gathering at midnight, they started doing it a few hours earlier. This admittedly wasn't a huge update, but then Ellis dropped a bomb. He said he'd been getting phone calls from a masked number shortly after the cats did their thing, and it continued to happen every night. And then he shares a photo of all the missed calls, like pages and pages of missed calls with an unmarked number.
Oh my God.
He assumed it was a robo call, but then he picked up one of the calls and this is what happened. This is him tweeting. "I didn't say anything, I just listened, waiting for some automated message to chime in. After about a minute, the static stopped and there was silence. I kept listening. I heard what I thought was breathing, but it was so faint I can't be sure. My heart was racing, so it was hard to hear. Then just as I was about to hang up, I heard a very small voice whisper, 'Hello.'"
Oh my God.
Something about the way they said hello freaked me out. It wasn't a question or a greeting. I panicked and hung up. I didn't know what else to do. I closed all the curtains in my apartment and turned on every single light. Meanwhile, that image of the misshapen baby's head is like going through your head.
Yeah, I know. Go, "Hello."
Hello. August 28th to September 11th. The evening of August 28th, another Monday, Ellis tweeted a couple of things. First, he said that he'd moved the rocking chair out of his room a few weeks prior into the lounge room. Second, he said he was going to Japan on vacation in 3 weeks. And third, he wrote that he hoped maybe David would lose track of him while he was gone. After all, that was what had seemed to happen for a time after he moved to the upstairs apartment. He also wrote a bigger update. In preparation for his trip, he'd gotten a pet cam so he could keep an eye on his cats while he was away. The pet cam activates whenever it detects motion. Then it pings you on your phone to let you know what it saw.
Yeah.
He tested it out during a brief weekend trip, and some of the footage was pretty disturbing. His green rocking chair starts moving on its own. It's stationary as the video begins. At about 6 seconds in, it starts to move back and forth, picking up the pace without anyone there to interfere with it. The next video is the same frame with a green turtle ornament flying from the top of the shelf next to the rocking chair. Ellis claims no windows in the house were open for it to have been a case of the wind.
That's a pretty strong wind if it's blowing an ornament. Just
Absolutely.
one ornament too. Yeah.
A couple of days later, another recording shows his cats freaking out, this time inside the apartment, and one of the cats appears to be startled and visibly dive over the top of something invisible. Then it just records one of his cats continuing to just stand on its hind legs. The video continued to record the cat doing this on and off for hours.
And you can't make a cat do that.
No.
Yeah, you can scare it once, I guess, but for it to be standing there like
standing
that.
on its hind legs. Cats don't normally do that. Like, they do it to hop up on stuff. They don't just walk around fucking standing on their hind legs. That's just so bizarre. On September 11th, the pet cam recorded a small green cactus falling from the same spot the turtle shell fell, just moments after Ellis exited the room. So he's in the room. He walks past the bookshelf into the next part of the house, and then something flies off the shelf, and he walks in and it's smashed on the ground. And it's green. Everything's green.
Yeah.
So September 16th, Ellis's nightmares return. He dreams about the warehouse and grotesque dismembered heads being placed beside him in bed. He walks past the abandoned warehouse again, and hears a loud thunk inside, so he decides to take a photo through the window. His photos have been picked apart by his followers, with many believing they can see a set of eyes and the outline of a misshapen boy's head. Again, photos are available to look at by yourself. October 5th to 14th. It's at about this point that Ellis's updates begin to slow down a bit. He started posting about every once a week and a half to 2 weeks instead of every few days. Each one is fairly elaborate, though, so when there's an update, it's an update. In the middle of October, he told us about some issues he'd been having with the electricity in his apartment, light bulbs burning out with a shocking degree of frequency, an LED backlit strip that plugged into his TV turning off and on of its own violation before dying entirely. After the backlight incident, what happened in the wee hours of the morning, Ellis couldn't go back to sleep. So he went to a 24-hour diner near his apartment, had some eggs, and then went home to shower and get ready for the day before heading into work. While he was completing his morning routine, he said he started hearing some weird scratching noises outside his front door. After everything that had happened so far, he couldn't bring himself to actually look through the peephole. So instead, he just held up his phone and snapped a picture. Many believe that through the peephole, they can see a picture of a human ear, nose, and eye.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure I can really see it in that one, though. Okay. But again, you be the judge. October 15th to 16th. After his last update, Ellis had a friend perform a cleansing ritual in his apartment, which seemed to help somewhat, according to the tweets. Things got weird again fairly quickly, however. First, remember the warehouse, the one near Ellis's apartment that keeps popping up time and time again. Well, on his way to work one day, he saw that it was open again, and this time there was something in it, a hearse. Just parked in
Jesus Christ.
Randomly with no one around, just a hearse.
In the warehouse.
In the warehouse, like it's a abandoned warehouse. There's not another thing in there, just a hearse, which I know it could be anything. It could be completely unrelated, but it's
fucking
still
weird.
Freaky, right? Anyway, so and then they go on to say, look, it could have just been a coincidence because there wasn't anything else that was happening in the warehouse. Ellis wrote on the evening of October 25, he was heading into the kitchen to grab a beer from the fridge when he spotted something frightening out the window, a person. standing on the roof opposite his apartment, staring at him.
Oh, God.
Ellis dropped to the ground, grabbed his phone, and took a photo through the window. You need to see these pics online because you can clearly see a little misshapen child at the window in some of them.
I do not remember that part.
November 5th. The next update came on November 6th. In it, Ellis wrote that he'd had a dream the previous night, a dream quite similar to the very first one about David he had way back. As in the previous dream, in this one, Ellis was laying in bed while David appeared on a chair nearby. This time, though, Ellis wasn't quite as paralysed as he'd been the first time round. He could move his hands a bit. So when David began to approach, Ellis grabbed his phone in the dream and started to take some pictures. He woke up right as David reached his bed and began to crawl up it. Being able to move in the dream wasn't the only thing that was different this time. When Ellis looked at the camera roll on his phone, he saw dozens of photos that had been taken in the dark that night before. Apparently, he wasn't just taking pictures in his dream, but also in real life. These photos I'm getting shivers. These photos will absolutely scare the bejesus out of you. It's the same kid, but more close up and more real life looking.
Oh, God.
November 6th, 16th, Ellis started hearing loud noises banging and scraping from the roof, or what he thought was the roof, and they were relentless. During this time, as he was walking through the hallway, he noticed a weird hatch at the top of the ceiling in the hall. He ordered a telescopic pole online, like, those poles that you can retract and make longer, and they go down to like a small one. You can just keep pulling them out.
Yeah.
And after hearing noises again, attempted to dislodge the hatch to see what was inside. This guy got some balls though, still, right? Like, he's still
to keep investigating that shit. Yeah,
keep investigating.
I'd just be smudging the fuck out of my house still with those fucking sage sticks.
And this is all on video too. You can see this online. But guess what falls out when he opens the hatch?
Oh, God.
An old-fashioned child's shoe, like leather thing with like a strap over the top,
sandal type thing.
Wear in this day and age, like a boot, like a open shoe boot, but something definitely old-fashioned.
Oh, my God.
He calls his landlord in to get up and take another look. The landlord doesn't see anything at first with a torch, but then he sees something and comes back, and he's found a green glass marble, a vintage one that doesn't look like it's new and has been around for a really long time. Green again. Another
green one, yeah.
In that little crawl space above his apartment where he's hearing all the noises. November 29th to December 12th. Ellis doesn't post another update for 2 weeks, largely because he said he didn't have anything to report. He wasn't sleeping well and he generally didn't feel great, but nothing major had occurred until December 6th. That night, Ellis wrote, he woke up with a start and felt something strange, like something had just been watching me. There was no one there, but when he turned on the light, of course, but he was experiencing that tangible feeling of badness he'd learned to associate with David. After a couple of nights of this, waking up suddenly, feeling like he was being watched and the feeling of badness, he downloaded an app on his phone that takes photos automatically every 60 seconds and set it up on his bookcase. He left both it and a light on while he slept, and in the morning he claimed he found some really disturbing pictures on his camera roll. Now, these images will freak you the fuck out. It's the same weird-faced little boy watching Ellis sleep and moving around the room. It was giving me shivers when I was writing it. And at one point, the camera catches him standing on the bed over Ellis, just peering him down him, it's like he sort of straddles standing over him, just staring down at him. The last photo will actually make you want to throw up. It's so freaky. It's the top part, so it's the camera, and the kids come right up to the camera, and it's the top part of his head, and you can see like the hair, the misshapen side of his head, and the hair coming across, and it's full. Like, I don't think that's one I really find hard to believe it could be doctored. It's too legit looking and too real looking for it to be fake.
I just saw that picture that he took of the building across the road where they've all lightened it up. And you can see the fucking Dear David just in there. It's horrendous.
It's so freaky, right? It just is so gross. It's so scary. And that kid is just so scary. So Ellis leaves town on December 20 to visit his family for the holidays. Hey, everyone, he tweets, I'll be gone for the next week visiting family back home in Montana for the holidays. It'll be nice to get away from all this for a bit. Thanks for everyone's kind words lately. I'll see you when I get back. His next posts indicate he did not have an uneventful time away. He tweets, after a few days, I started, this is while he's in Montana, not in New York. He's gone back home for the holidays.
Yeah.
After a few days, I started.
Montana's a fair back away from New York too.
Yeah. A big, like inland, isn't it? Maybe 10 hours, 12 hours, something like that.
Yeah. It's, I think it's up near Seattle, yeah.
Yeah. After a few days, I started to feel strange again. One night, I got up to go to the bathroom, and as I stood there in the dark, I couldn't help feeling there was something moving outside the bathroom window. I'll cut right to the chase. It appears that David actually followed Ellis home to Montana, where he went to spend Christmas with family. Although Ellis noted that he actually felt better, less tired, less foggy for the first couple of days he was there, he quickly started to feel off again, which soon led to him feeling like there was something lurking outside. The first time he got that feeling, he discovered animal tracks outside underneath his window. God. Then in the following days, he finds footprints outside the window in the shape and size of a small child. He returns home and starts to feel sicker and sicker about the whole ordeal. The dreams return, and one night he dreams he can't breathe because David is on his chest pushing. What do you think he found when he looked at the camera again?
Oh God, pictures.
There's pictures of David on top of him.
Oh my God.
Like just absolutely like on top of him, laid on the top, like pushing down on him with motion. Like it looks.
And do you see those pictures?
Yeah, those pictures are online, totally.
Oh my God.
A few days later, he makes an Instagram post about a brunch date with a friend. He goes to bed at night and wakes the following day to be flooded with messages and retweets from his followers. His Instagram post ended up being bugged, and over the image of Ellis's face is what seems to be another face that looks very similar to David.
Oh my God.
So you can see the Instagram post online, and you can see where it's all his face is smudged, and if you look really closely, there's another face there.
Oh God.
Ellis's followers now believe that he's begun to be possessed by David.
Yeah.
Another video emerges days later of Ellis's strange behaving cat meowing directly at the camera. A close-up shows the cat's face distorted and what also appears to be David's face imposed over the cat.
Oh my God. Poor kitty.
On February 3rd, Ellis tweets, "Everything is fine," with extra spaces before fine. Followers observe that his previous posts have never so much as contained a spelling or grammatical error. They are convinced David has possessed the writer.
Taken over his body.
February 13, he tweets in broken grammar, "Please don't worry about me. I'm okay, and everything will be like it was before."
That's fucking creepy in itself.
I know, right? So June 16th, Ellis announces via tweet about the untitled Dear David project. Drum roll, please. It's about to become a supernatural thriller released next year starring Justin Long. So you don't really know how it ends. That's it.
Wow. That's going to be a movie we have to see together.
Oh my God, it's going to be so good. And it's going to be so freaky. Tyler will die if we make him watch that.
Vinny will love it. I just hope they do a good job of it.
But it's the pictures, it's the photos that you see and the videos that you watch with the cats and the things flying off things. And the real thing, I think, is the pictures of the kid, the up close ones, the ones where he's on the balcony, the ones in the bedroom. And even if they're fake, they are fucking scary as shit.
I remember seeing the pictures too as I was reading along with it, and the videos and all that shit. And it adds to the chill 100%. And then.
But isn't it funny though that and this happens all the time when we pick these topics, you're doing this sleep paralysis stuff.
Yeah, and then that sort of
and this is what it basically is about. Like, it's happening in his dreams, it's manifesting there, but it's also he's got evidence of it happening.
Yes,
in real life, like
the aftermaths of it.
And look, he could just have a really vivid imagination and be really good at Photoshop.
Yeah, and have you Googled to see if it is a hoax or anything like that?
Heaps of people have tried to debunk it.
But there's just so much.
You could read it, and I think it's quite mild. Like, nothing he hasn't been murdered or anything. Do you know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
for all the little tiny bits that all come together, why would you make all that? But I guess it made him famous, and he's got a movie
and
out
he's
of
getting
it.
a movie. Isn't that crazy too? Just from that one little concept of telling a story, getting the world hooked.
So he could just be very, very clever and thought, I'm gonna make money off this. You know,
and
who knows?
Bam, there he goes.
But he seems like a really cool dude too. Like he just seems like he plays it well because he's in some of the videos, like especially when he is getting the hatch thing up and the shoe drops down. Like you can actually see that online.
Okay, I haven't seen that video.
So I'll share the article with you that has it all collated into one in a timeline, and then all the videos and sound clips and photos in chronological order. Yeah, I'll share that with you.
Do that'd be good. You stupid bitch. All right, so I'm going to do sleep paralysis and shadow demons.
Let's do it.
So picture you're waking up or you're just falling asleep and suddenly your body is unable to move. You become paralyzed as if an unseen weight is upon you. You're unable to move your arms or your legs, your body and your head. You can breathe and think, but you're unable to speak.
Ooh.
The paralysis may last for only seconds or a few minutes. Then it disappears and you're able to move again. That would describe a typical episode of sleep paralysis. It's a common sleep disorder that is classified as parasomnia. Episodes can cause you to feel intense anxiety, and it occurs when the line between sleep and wakefulness is blurred. Normally, your brain paralyzes many of your muscles during the stage of rapid eye movement in sleep, or REM, and that paralysis is called atonia. You may experience sleep paralysis if atonia lingers as you wake up from your REM sleep, and it also may occur if you transition quickly from wakefulness into REM sleep. It can occur with hallucinations, and you may...
Hallucinations? You bitch.
And you may imagine that you see or hear something. You may even think that someone else or something is in the room with you. So across cultures, the strange sensation of sleep paralysis has evoked some vivid descriptions.
I don't think I'm going to be able to sleep tonight. That's creepy. This is not creeping me out.
In 1664, a Dutch physician published a case history of a woman with sleep paralysis. The devil lay upon her and held her down, he wrote. In Japan, they call it kanashibari. The term is rooted into Buddhism, and long ago it was believed that Buddhist monks could use magic to paralyze others.
Ooh.
In Newfoundland, sleep paralysis has been called an attack of the old hag. In China, it has been labeled ghost depression. And a new study reports that in Mexico, people may say that sleep paralysis feels like a dead body climbed on top of me. And that's what it feels like.
Totally like Dear David.
Dear David, yeah. So sleep deprivation can trigger an episode of sleep paralysis. Other related factors may include stress and sleep-related leg cramps. Kooky, hey, I go through all of those. It tends to only be a mild problem, and there are no medical complications, but it can also be one symptom of narcolepsy. Those who experience sleep paralysis also note the presence of shadow demons when they're in this state. So you've never had sleep paralysis?
No, but I have that thing that you feel like you're falling. Do you ever get that?
Ah, yes, and you jump awake.
You jump awake, yeah.
And they reckon if you ever hit the ground, you die in your sleep. I know. So I have experienced it a number of times. It's not regular, but I'd say my first bout of it, like I've had no more than 10 times, but when it does happen, it is the most freakiest fucking thing.
Like you've had something on top of you.
Like you're awake and you can't move your body at all, and you're just looking around.
Wow, I've never had that.
I've had it a few times. And the freakiest part though, is when you notice a dark, shadowy figure standing in the corner of the room, just staring at you.
Have you had that?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Shadow demons. Or they're hovering above you in your bed as you're laying there paralyzed. So
have you had them hovering above you?
Yeah. In London, it happened once. But the first time it happened to me...
You partied a lot in London.
Partied a lot over here too. The first time it happened to me, I was actually in Belinda and Tennille's garage on a mattress while they were in a unit in Morningside. And I woke up on the mattress and couldn't move. And I saw a shadowy figure in the doorway, and the feeling of just pure fear sweeps over you. And you're lying there, and because you know what it's there and what it wants to do to you. As I said, it also happened in London, where I woke up in bed, and that's when it was hovering over the top of me. And you're just absolutely helpless. You don't know what's going on. You just see this figure there. Both times, however, I was able to will myself, and this is no word of a lie. All I could think to do was like be able to get my hand up, and it's like your hand's crippled because you're really trying to get it. And I just turned it around and gave it the finger. Both times, that's all I could do was get it around and give the thing the finger. After it happened to me a couple of times before London, and I actually went to the doctor. And I said, what is this? You know, blah, blah, blah. And he just said it was vertigo. He didn't really even say anything about sleep paralysis.
I had vertigo before. That's not
yeah,
vertigo.
No. And he said, yeah, you're laying down too quick or some shit, or the liquid's in your ears. And it wasn't vertigo. But yeah, both of those times, I was able to will myself to get my hand to give it the finger. It was also the hardest thing to just get your hand up there. It was literally like forcing
terrifying.
it. It was terrifying. It was the hardest thing, but it was the only way I could tell the thing to fuck off, basically, by giving it the bird. So it's happened in this unit 2 nights in a row. And it's funny because I can start to feel when it's going to come on now. It's like a mix of, you know, when you go on a roller coaster and you get butterflies in your belly, sort of a mix between that, but also when you're drunk and you can't stop the room from spinning, like that as well. Like you feel yourself sort of descending, it's going to happen. And it's that horrible sensation in your gut too. Anyways, when it happened here, I didn't muster the strength to flip at the bird this time. I just lay there and saw it standing in the corner of the room, you know, where our bathroom door is, and just saw it standing there.
So do you think you're being haunted by someone specific?
Well, it's interesting because they say a lot of it's nothing, it's just shadows, and that your brain, when you know, like when you're walking down the street and you see something, or when you're looking at a random pattern, and you can make a face out of it.
Or if you think someone's behind you, like you all of a sudden see something in your side eye, you flip around, there's nothing there.
Apparently it's your head is trying to make figures out of things that you see to sort of create some sort of normalness, I guess. It's bizarre, yeah.
Do you know what though? And look, I actually, when you were telling that story, this is when I totally had forgotten about this. When I was working in Perth years ago, I was in a hotel, and my mum always makes me tell people this story, and I had forgotten about it until I moved back recently. And she said, "Tell that story again about how you were haunted in the hotel." And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. I must have just locked it away somewhere. But I was laying in bed one night, and I felt something on top of me. Like I wasn't paralyzed, but I felt something sitting on me, and I couldn't get it off. And I was absolutely just terrified.
So you could move your arms and shit.
So I could move. I wasn't paralyzed, but there was something on me, physically forcing me down and pushing me into the bed. And I was trying to get up, and I couldn't. And then I heard the door of the hotel room, and I was in there alone, just thrashing. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? What the fuck is happening? And I was completely petrified.
That scared the shit out of me.
And I managed to jump up eventually, and then that was it. I could not sleep. And I remember I rang my mum, completely skitzing out. And I was like, what do? Do I go and tell someone at the hotel? And be like, something attacked me in my sleep, and something was banging at the door. Like, how do you even tell somebody that? Did you look out
the peephole of the door? Did the door stop thrashing?
I was too terrified. It thrashed a couple of times. Like it thrashed a few times, and I was just so beside myself, terrified that I pretty much just sat rocking in bed until the sun came up, and then I just got up, got dressed for work, and went to work because
did you have to stay there again that night?
I can't remember. No, I think I was checking out.
Thank God.
I think when I was checking out, I was full wigging too, because I was like, oh my God, thank fuck I don't have to stay here. But it was a hotel that I stayed in a lot, but that might have been the last time I was there, and it never happened before. But it was my favorite hotel to stay in. I loved it. It was super fancy, but reasonably cheap, and I could get away with, expensing it to work. And it was super ritzy, but it was terrifying, full terrifying. I reckon someone died in there. That's what I reckon. It was being haunted
by that person. I hate I have a real problem trying to sleep when I'm away with work, especially, and I am always by myself, but in a room, I have a real hard time getting to sleep most of the times.
Oh, I love
because,
sleeping in hotels on my own. Love it.
well, see, I always get paranoid about someone coming in the room. For some reason, that just always freaks me out, like what you had. And if I can't see the door, if there's no chain for the door, that is even worse for me. When I did these trips at the beginning of the year, we stayed in this hotel in Hobart that they all loved and raved about, and it was the worst experience of my life in a hotel room, just because it had an entryway, so it was like a little, you had to walk, it was an old hotel, you had to walk up a couple of stairs to get to the bedroom, then it sort of continued on down to the fucking kitchen area and shit, and I'd be laying in bed watching shit on the iPad trying to sleep, and you hear all the creaks and the cracks and the fucking every noise in the hotel like that.
Yeah. Oh,
and it just disturbs the fuck
I
out
never
of me.
realized you got as rattled as that. I didn't know that you get that rattled.
Huge scaredy cat.
I'm a scaredy cat too. I'm a massive scaredy cat.
That's why I put the latch on the door here, because I know that there's a master key somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone coming in here when I'm here. And when Vinny traveled for work, knowing that I have the latch there, I'll still go through and check every cupboard before I go to bed, under the bed, all that shit. And then I have to lay in bed and I hear a noise. I'm like, no, it's okay. The latch is on the door. You know, you've got the security screen here that's got that shut. That door's locked. It's all fine. Blah, blah, blah. Cats.
I used to be a real scaredy cat when I first started living on my own, because after I got divorced, I moved out, and that was the very first, and I still had Link with me, obviously, but he was quite small. He was a baby, 18 months or so.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was quite scared for the first time, but then I just got used to it. And then I lived on my own for, until I met Tyler. I lived alone. So
you're okay. Yeah.
I got used to it, but I used to every noise, everything. But now I don't even fucking lock my doors. Like, even when I lived at Stella
Skye.
on my own, I didn't even lock my front door.
Oh my God, Skye, lock your doors.
The windows were all open, and the cat was always jumping in and out, and everyone was like, "You don't lock anything. You are like the worst safety person ever." And I was
I've watched too much true crime to not lock my doors, man.
I should totally know better.
100%. But yeah, back into that story. So I was in the unit and I'd seen it in the corner of the room, the shadow demon. I told Vinny about it the next morning. This will get you this. And he was intrigued, because you lay there too, and I try to alert Vinny somehow so that he'll either look and see me in my state of sleep paralysis and see what's happening, or, it'd just be interesting for him to see me.
And to be able to validate it as well and say, exactly. I saw you. You were like, you couldn't
completely
move.
Yeah. But of
I
course,
love the bit where you're like, doing it in the finger, like dragging your arm against its will, and like, fuck off.
He knew not to mess with me. So anyway, I told him.
You better work it down with that fight. You're paralyzed.
I told him to fuck off. He knew I wasn't in it.
You're not welcome here.
So I told Vinny about it the next morning. And then that night it happened again. And I remember trying, as I was saying, to get my hand to alert Vinny next to me, but I couldn't move it to him. And the little grunts I was making wasn't enough to make him wake up. So fast forward to the next day, and Vinny tells me how he had experienced it last night as well. Oh. And that the demon was on his chest. And
the demon's got you both.
The demon was on his chest and he couldn't move, but felt the pressure on him. And that's what, when I was seeing in my sleep paralysis, I could see the dark thing over more towards Vinny. And then that next morning he woke up saying he felt it and it was on him. And that's the only time he's ever had sleep paralysis.
Oh my God, your unit is haunted.
Well, it's happened in other areas as well.
I'm always too drunk when I stay at your place. It doesn't fuck with me. No.
Well, that was the benefit of going away to Canberra this time. I was pretty drunk every night I went to bed. And I just put on the white noise machine. I had great sleeps.
White noise machine?
Yeah, I need noise to sleep. Yeah, I can't sleep in just silence. If the aircon goes off and I'm awake, I have to put it back on just so I can hear it fucking and get back to sleep. So I found a couple of other little stories on the internet of people who've encountered it, and I thought I'd share them. So the first one is, the first time it happened to me was when I went for a nap during the day. I was lying on my side facing away from the door when I woke up to the sound of my door closing. I tried to turn to see who came into my room, but I couldn't move. My eyes were wide with terror. I could see everything in the room. I heard this thing walk around to my room, then it sat on my bed, and I could feel the bed tip from its weight. It then shuffled towards me, and it felt like it began to spoon me. I was trying so hard to move, but I was just lying still. The thing started breathing on my neck and tickling my back. It then stood up and left after a few minutes. This was the most terrifying thing that's ever happened to me.
Do you know what that reminds me of?
Right.
That time we went to that 30th birthday when we slept.
Oh God, that
and that weird guy tried to sniggle in between the two
it
of
did.
us and like was
I
like
woke
trying
up
to
to him pinching
crack
my
onto
nipples.
you.
Pinching my nipples and like rubbing my back, and I was like, "Oh God, just be asleep, just be
So
asleep."
disgusting. And then you were like kicking me, and like going, "Skye, help me, help me."
Wake up, mate, alert, alert. And then he was just sat there normal talking to me the next day. I'm like, I know what you're doing, you horrible pig. The next story is my worst experience with sleep paralysis was after I'd been up all night doing an essay. When I finished, I immediately dozed off. The next thing I knew, I thought I had completely woken up, except there was a shadow demon looming over the end of the bed. And that's where you see him. It's just like in the dark spots of the room, and you see them there. It's horrible. It didn't have a face, but I could feel it staring at me, and it felt like pure evil. I tried with my whole body to scream, but nothing came out, which only made me panic more. I felt like the demon was about to attack me. Then his head twitched to the side and he pounced on my chest, sort of thrashing at me. I felt like it was suffocating me. I tried to close my eyes again and put all my energy into trying to wake up and move my body, and trying to wake up and move my body the whole time, with the demon hallucination still attacking me. When I was finally fully awake, I lay in bed for an hour and a half, just shaking and next to tears. It was probably the scariest thing I've experienced. I thought it was just a really vivid nightmare until a few months later when I first read about sleep paralysis online. Two more. I felt pressure on my chest and it crept up closer up on my body, becoming heavier. When it reached my head, I could hear my name being shouted louder and louder until it became a scream. Literally the worst experience of my life. And now this one is my favorite story of taking charge of the situation.
I like yours.
Sleep paralysis started when I was 7, and it was scary. I remember the walls shaking and a ringing in my ears going through a tunnel. This continued into my teens, and sometimes I felt I was battling an entire group of demons that spoke strange languages. Then I explored lucid dreaming and followed my spirit guides until they became unpredictable and began biting me and being evil in general. They ain't your spirit guides, darling. Then in my late 20s, I discovered that I could have sex with the beings. I know you're thinking, that is disgusting. I would move my hand to my private area and have an orgasm by myself without even touching myself, strictly in my head. This would immediately send me to sleep afterwards, had the added effect of making the paralysis enjoyable. So there you go. Next time, if you fall asleep, just remember there's a shadow demon lurking in your room, waiting for that moment. You close your eyes and you slip into the void between sleep and consciousness. Just try your best to stay awake, dear listeners, because if it gets to you, you'll be paralyzed and you'll have no choice but to lay there and watch and either fuck it or finger it. The shadow demon stares back at your helpless, lifeless body, filling you with filling you with fear and hopelessness. Have you had any other spooky stuff happen to you?
No, that's probably the only one. I'm just trying to think of other scary stories that I've heard. I knew of a friend who was haunted. Oh, actually, a friend of mine from school, she was haunted in her house, and we were there one time. So and in the end, it turned out, so she researched it, and someone had killed themselves in her house.
Oh my God.
It was a guy, and she used to always have like situations where she'd go to sleep and she felt like someone was on top of her all the time it happened. And then I remember one time we were sat in her room and she was telling me the story of what was happening, what had happened. She told me all the incidents and how it had gone on for years and years and years. And then a photo frame on her like cupboard, which was on the other side of the bedroom, just flew across the room and like flew, and we were sat on her bed and we were like cross-legged, like sitting across from each other while she was telling me, and it just flew across.
Holy fuck.
Hit the bed right where we were sat.
And you were there to witness it.
And she was like, told ya. And I was like,
oh dear.
Oh my God, I was so terrified. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know how I can ever sleep in this room again. Or in this house.
The scariest things that happened to me was when, my mum's house in Alexandra Hills off Vienna Road. And when I was
party house.
Yeah, when I was 17 though, 16, 17, and we moved in, we had our dog Tosser that my parents called. I wanted to call her Warlock, and it was a her. I wanted to call her Warlock, but they called her Tosser, and she was such a beautiful little poochie. She chewed a hole in my wall one time in that room, and in my bedroom. The laundry, which was right next to my bedroom, was freaky. The animals would never go into it. But I remember one night I was alone. My parents used to go out a lot with their functions. And I was watching this is when we only had the 5 channels, but they used to put on those paranormal specials and shit like that, and exorcisms. And I was watching some scary show about some kid who was telling a story about how they were laying in bed, the whole bed shook, there was scratching coming from behind the walls and all this shit. And I was watching it, and it was freaking me out. And next thing, and it's no word of a lie, started hearing this scratching coming from behind the walls in the lounge room where I was watching the TV. I literally just picked up my shit, turned off the lights, and went straight to bed and laid in bed, laying there terrified. No word of a lie, the scratching started happening in the walls in the bedroom. I just put it down to it being a possum in the house. That's all I could do. It scared the fuck out of me.
Well, when I first moved into Battery Bay, the house that we had before this, Tyler used to work nights, so he used to have to do sleepovers, and he'd be gone all night and leave at like 10 and not come home till 8 in the morning. And I had one of those situations where something was scratching outside and making all these noises, and it felt like it was in the room. And our bedroom, you never saw that house, but our bedroom sort of like the main bedroom, and there was like the hall, but it was like a very small hallway, and you could sort of almost see into the toilet.
Yeah.
And it felt like it's sort of the same setup that I have at this house, except it didn't have this room, this office room. There was nothing there. So there was like the main bedroom and the toilet was there. And it was like inside with me. That's how loud it was. God. And it was scratching, moaning. And I rang Tyler going, oh my God, you need to come home. There's a fucking ghost. We've moved into a haunted house. Like, it's fucked. It ended up being a fucking possum.
Yeah, but still, fucking freaks you the fuck
but
out.
It must have gotten like right next to the window, like that. It felt like it was in the room, like in the closet or something. But it was either at our bedroom window or it was at the toilet window, like right on top of the window.
God, you should really lock your doors. Do you know there was a vampire, one of the serial killers, a vampire of someone, and that was how he chose his victims. If they left the door open, they invited him in. So lucky shit.
God, that is so freaky.
I know. Well, we've got next week to do more spooky stuff, but it's horror movies of yesteryear.
Horror movies that scare the shit out of us.
Yeah, we'll have to think of some stories that go with it that freak us out with it.
I've got heaps. I've got so many. I've written heaps of them down.
Great.
I've got many stories that I can tell from how I was traumatized as a small child by my family, and particularly my mother.
Well, thanks for listening to our spooky tales for Halloween. We hope you enjoyed them and aren't too scared to go to sleep tonight.
I'm fucking petrified. I'm totally not going to sleep tonight. Tune in next week as we continue our scary stories and go back in time to the horror movies of yesteryear, the ones that terrified, traumatized, and terrorized us as children. Ooh. And with that, good night, you stupid bitches. Woo.
Good night. Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That stupid bitch.